Brutal rape of a 10-year-old girl in South LA went unsolved for years. That is, until new evidence identified her attacker. Tonight, only on 9, the victim speaks out publicly for the very first time. Here's KCAL 9's Randy Page with her fight to make sure he stays behind bars.
A warning tonight about a masked man stalking children on the way to school. Parents are frightened the molester will strike again.
It was November 1994. An 8-year-old girl was abducted while on her way to school in South Los Angeles. The very next day, 10-year-old Tahara Freeman was the attacker's next victim. Now, at 31, she speaks publicly for the first time about the morning that would change her life forever.
Do you ever see a day when it'll be totally behind you?
No.
Freeman says it was foggy that Wednesday morning and she was alone.
I felt him watching me.
Moments later, the attacker grabbed her from behind.
When I tried to kick and scream, that's when he put a sharp object to my neck. I remember looking up and seeing the neighbor closing her curtain.
It was a woman's face silhouetted in that second-floor window for just an instant before the curtain closed.
I thought for sure this woman would call for help.
And she never did.
She never did.
Tahara says her attacker dragged her through this gate on the side of a church. When he began removing his clothes, she broke free and ran to the gate, but couldn't get it open.
And he grabbed me, and that's when he physically hit me. And he put the knife to my throat again, and he said, if you try to run, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill everybody in your family. And he just started initiating and performing the sexual acts.
It was a violent and vicious rape.
The entire time I'm waiting on the lady upstairs to call the police. I'm thinking any minute now, somebody's gonna come through. Nobody did.
Police are only releasing this composite drawing of the suspect.
Tahara helped police produce this composite. Within a week, a suspect was in custody.
I'm just glad they caught somebody. I hope it's the right person.
Freeman was convinced the man police arrested was the man who raped her. Years passed. Tahara says she began to see him back in the neighborhood. He lived just 2 blocks away.
It was shattering.
Paralyzed with fear, she went to the district attorney and was told there was not enough evidence to convict him.
It was nothing no one can do. It was really scary.
In 2010, veteran LAPD robbery homicide detective Nancy Nelson took on the case. Using modern DNA testing, Detective Nelson was able to prove the original suspect was not the rapist, but there was a conclusive match to another man, a serial predator currently in prison serving a 21-year sentence for kidnapping a young boy. His name, Mark Elliott Jackson, a child molester who's been linked to at least 10 other crimes against children.
There's no doubt that he's the right individual.
So he committed this rape?
Absolutely, 100%.
But Deputy DA Jane Crichton knew she couldn't charge Jackson with the rape because the statute of limitations had expired, and he was scheduled to be released in June.
There's a strong likelihood that he will reoffend.
Crichton made a bold decision. She offered Jackson a deal: plead guilty to a lesser crime, forcible lewd act on a child, or face going to trial for torture, a crime that carries a life sentence. He took the deal. On March 23rd, Judge Ray Girado would not allow our cameras in the courtroom when he sentenced Jackson to 8 years in state prison. With good behavior, he will be released in 6 years.
It makes me sick to think that he'll get out.
Detective Nelson is convinced Jackson attacked more children on their way to school between 1994 and his arrest in 1998.
As far as sex offenders go, I'd say he's about the top of the list. I mean, he's about as dangerous as they get.
Any attack after November of 1994 would not be subject to the statute of limitations, and a conviction could carry a life sentence. Detective Nelson is hoping Tahara's story will prompt one of those victims to come forward.
The closest you can get to getting over it is making sure that it won't happen to someone else.
Now she devotes her life to her daughter.
This is not going to happen to her. It's not going to happen to her. And I'm going to see a part of me that can grow up pure and innocent.
So she holds on tight to her little girl and braces herself for the day Mark Jackson is released, a day she hopes will never come. In South Los Angeles, Randy Page, KCAL 9 News.
And as Randy mentioned, the guilty plea guarantees that Jackson will stay in prison for at least another 6 years, and he will have to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life.